Welcome to the Savant ADC demonstration series. In this video, we will be demonstrating the Savant ADC product and our integration into the Acumatica Cloud ERP. Acumatica is the world's leading cloud-based ERP. Its distribution components provide the ability to create purchase orders, manage inventory, and generate customer sales orders. Savant ADC provides multiple deployment options, including on-premise, hosted on-premise, or software as a service. ADC is a warehouse management solution that manages inventory from receiving products into the warehouse through shipping orders to customers. Savant ADC and Acumatica interface in three primary areas: purchase orders and receiving, inventory and inventory adjustments, sales orders and order fulfillment. Information between the two solutions is updated automatically. Let's turn the demo over to Diane, who will demonstrate the Savant ADC application and Acumatica integration.
Within the Savant ADC, there's two different pieces that we need to discuss. The first one is what we're calling the admin console, which is what we're looking at right here. And this is where certain setup functions are taking place, where the managers will go in and take a look at different statuses and check on inventory and things like that. And then we have the handheld, which is where the bulk of the work is taking place. And I will show you that in a few minutes. And we'll actually run through some real transactions and watch how they go through the system. Before we get into that, I would like to just show you some of the setup functionality of things that you can do within the system. So every user on the Savant ADC side of the universe will have to have a login and some security setup. So we allow for each user to be created, and we can see here I've got a picking user, and I'm going to set that person up with a password, and I'm going to say whether or not he is going to be an English-speaking user or another language. At this time, in this particular demo, we've only got Spanish and English as our options. But depending on what you choose, for that user, when he logs in, all of his menus will be in that language. Second thing we need to do is talk about roles. So here I've got a role that I've already created called picking. And what that does for us is, with all the different functions that are available within the system, certain ones have been granted access for this role. And that's pretty straightforward. A system administrator type person will come in and set those up as part of our initial configuration. And then the last step is to go into role assignments and choose that user. And for the particular site, we can then say, okay, this role is assigned to this user. And a user can have multiple roles assigned. So that is the basic steps for getting somebody set up on the system. The next thing that has to happen is we need to have bin locations set up. So everything within the system is going to be organized, and in that warehouse we're going to have various bin locations. And we're going to optimize things for putting product away and for picking product by walking through the warehouse in an organized manner. So in that situation, we need to come in and generate bin locations for that purpose. I'll show you an example here. We have a primary pick location, M010101, and it has various properties that are set up for it. For example, this is included as available inventory. We do not allow multiple items in this bin, and we do allow for picking. So it is possible to configure certain locations to allow multiple items, and you can also configure certain locations if you want them to be for quarantine or returned product, where maybe you don't want that to be counted as part of the available. And then once you move it out of there, maybe somebody's inspected it and determined that it's okay, then they can move it to a real picking bin, and then it becomes available for picking. Now when it comes to creating these bin locations, we have a structure that we call Veriflex. And the Veriflex system allows you to create what we're calling segments, and we can have up to 6 segments. And those segments can be defined by you. It could be as many as 20 characters in total when defining what that bin location is going to look like. In our case, we have one alphabetic character at the beginning, which is our warehouse, and then we have a 2-digit numeric aisle, and then a 2-digit rack, and a 2-digit shelf. So by the time we're done, we have 7 characters. Now it is possible, if you'd like to put dashes in between those, then you can set that up as well, and then that just increases the total size of the bin location as we're moving down. You see now my bin location is longer. And you can define something for 2 different types of locations in our system, primary and secondary. Once you've done that definition, you can then go through and generate bin locations. And that process is pretty straightforward. You just have to choose the type, set up your properties the way you want them, and then you set up a beginning and ending. So if I wanted to do warehouse Z, and then aisle 1 through 10, rack 1 through 10, rack 1 through 10, then I can then generate this whole entire list of bin locations on the fly and have those available now for my picking process. So that part of the system is very straightforward and simple to do. You just have to kind of think it through a little bit. And then the next thing we do is set up zones. This is an optional thing. It can be handy. And a zone is basically just a group of bin locations. And I have 3 of them set up here as an example. And so I have these particular bins set up in M Zone 1. And what you can do with these then is set up a picking sequence. So if you wanted to have a specific walking pattern through the warehouse, then you could do that by building this list in the zone. And then that's what's going to be worked through as part of our picking. Okay, so that's enough on the system administration side. Go ahead and close my windows. Let's talk about receiving. So I've got some things set up here, and I've got a connection to Acumatica, and I've pulled over some purchase orders to look at. We've got 3 purchase orders in the system. So for example, if I wanted to take a look, I can see that this is a purchase order for a quantity of 100. And it's sitting here waiting to be received. And so what I'd like to do now is just kind of walk through that process and get into where we're touching Acumatica and watching how that process works. So let's go ahead and move into Acumatica itself. And I've got the purchase order section here, and I'm just going to go create a new purchase order for us to work at. So here, there's my same 3 purchase orders, and I'll create a new one. Alright, so for this vendor, we'll come down and put in a product. And I'm going to go ahead and order 200 of these at a price of $12 each. And I will save all of that. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and get this purchase order ready. And I have to go in and print it before it will be available in the warehouse to be received. So there is a little bit of process that has to be dealt with before a purchase order is allowed to be received. So we'll come through here and print it. Okay. And then we will mark it as not an email. Oops. Okay. And now this purchase order is ready to come over to the Savant ADC. And I should be able to now jump back in. What happens is, within a matter of seconds, it is then sent over to the ADC side, where now I have my 4th PO, and I can call that one up And I can see this is for my RR01 white, and I've got a quantity of 200. So let's go ahead and walk through the process of receiving this particular PO. And how I'll do that is on my scanner. Go ahead and get this out of the way. And I've got a scanner process here. Now this is our simulator of exactly what the scanner looks like. So you'll have a Motorola or an Intermec or an LXE or a Datalogic. There's many different brands. You can even do this on your iPhone if you have a barcode scanner. There's different possibilities here. And when you log in, you get a receiving menu. Now I'm going to go ahead and log out and log back in so that I can show you how that works. Choose your warehouse and log in. And now you've got a group of options here that you can work through. I'm going to go into my receiving, and it's going to ask me what PO I want to receive. I want to do purchase order number 4. It then gives me a default receiving location. Now this is part of setup, and you can configure this however you like. I've just got a default bin location that I use specifically for my receiving dock. And so that's what this is. And now it's asking me for a printer, and this is where I'm going to print my license plate labels. So I will go through and have, at the end of each receipt, I'll have a pallet tag or a box label that I'm going to put on everything that's coming in the door, and we're calling that a license plate. And you'll see where that comes into play here in a few minutes. So this particular product is on this PO. It's telling me there's 200. And how many do I want to receive? Well, I'll just receive 100 for now. And now what's happening is the system is going out there and creating the inventory, and it's then going to put it in this MREC01 location. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of here, and I will show you where that happens. If I go here to this PO, I now have 100 received. And then I can go into my inventory, and I can look at my product inquiry for RR01 white. Oops. And I can see that here I've got my 100 that I received on today's date. I have some other product in the warehouse that was already there, and it's ready to be then moved around in the warehouse. I've got a license plate 10013, and this is what's printed on that barcode label on the printer that I specified. So I can take that label now and apply it to the product and go put it away. So we'll go ahead and go back to our scanner, and I will do a move. So I'm going to take my palette, and I'm going to scan this to a particular bin location. Now in this case, I'm just choosing one that is out there for this product, and it now has moved that into that bin. And we go back, refresh, and we can now see I've got 110 in my primary picking, and I still have this license plate of 50 out here. Now there's other rules you can put into place with respect to put away where it will tell you where to put the product. But in this case, I was just kind of doing it manually to show you how things work and how everything is instantly updated on the Savant side. So now let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening on Acumatica for my PO. If I go back into Acumatica and back to my main screen here, I take a look at purchase receipts. Alright, so I should be able to walk through here and say, look at this, I have a receipt. It came through with today's date on it for a quantity of 100, and it's showing as on hold. So we create the purchase receipt transaction, but we don't actually post it. We'll wait and let your accounting people or your buyers go through here and do a final check on it, and then when they're ready, they can then release it from hold and let it go through into inventory. So I'll let that release. All right, so now I have a released receipt, and if I go ahead and look at my inventory, I can now see that quantity as well. So let me get that pulled up. And there we go. I have some here, quantity of 160. So you'll notice one thing, that is that this is the total quantity for the warehouse. And when you go back and take a look at the Savant ADC, it is broken down by each individual bin location. And yet we still have 160, so we're keeping the level of detail on the ADC side and letting Acumatica just deal with the total quantity for the warehouse. Okay, so that's how that process works. Now let's talk about some other things that you can do in ADC. Now I've got this inventory, I want to move it around, which I've already done. Maybe I also want to do some cycle counting. So within the inventory module, you can do that as well. I will go ahead and pop back over to my scanner. And on the menu, we have a cycle count option. So here, I can do a location. And then I can scan the barcode of the product. And then key in the quantity. So the idea here is we've got a blind cycle count, and we're not going to tell the user, oh, there's 29 in this location, because we always know that warehouse people will try to take a shortcut and take the exact same information. What we want this to be is where the warehouse operator is counting it and then telling us what he thinks is in there. So here I'm going to say 110. And now that count has been updated on the Savant side. Same thing is true when it comes to other types of transactions like adjustments. This is where we're going to ask the user, the operator, to say, well, I've got to do an inventory adjustment because something happened. So maybe I have a situation where for this particular product, I have a scrap and I need to adjust out quantity of 5. So in that case, I will process that transaction, and now my inventory will be 5 less. And likewise, I can go in and do the same thing. And put it back. If I've made a mistake, I can go ahead and put that 5 back. Oops. Here we go. And now that adjustment has been made. And on the Savant ADC side, you're going to see, some things with the administration reports where we can check out what transactions have been going on. And so what I'd like to show you here real quickly is a transaction history for today's date. And one important thing that we do is we're keeping track of all of these things that are going on by different transaction types and by date and time. So you can see the most recent information is up here at the top, and then it works its way backwards. And you can see the exact date and time and what happened, who the operator was that did the transaction, and then what location, what product, the quantity, if there was an order attached to that. For example, I received this purchase order number 4. You can see I've got an adjustment here for the -5 and the 5. So you can see all of these things are happening and showing in the screen. So everything is time and date stamped, and so that's really good for things like checking out productivity or looking at an audit if you're trying to find out where something went. All the detail is there. Okay, so back to other transactions we can do. Let's talk about the sales order process. So on the sales order side, I have a few orders here. Let's take a look. Let's see, we have three sales orders waiting to happen. And if I go back to my ADC screen here, we have an order fulfillment, order release, and open order details screen. So let's take a look here. Open order details shows me the orders that are currently not shipped and their various statuses. Now in this situation, they're all in a new status because they're brand new orders that need to be processed. So let's go ahead and create another order. I'll go ahead and do that right now. And yep, put in a customer. Okay, and then we'll add an item. And let's just say we want to order a quantity of 10. And our price we'll say is $15. And so now I have my sales order. And looks like we're going to have a sales order number 4. So this one is ready to go. It's not on hold. And all we need to do then is go look in the ADC side and see that come over. And if I come into here and refresh, I now have sales order number 4. And I'd like to release this and process it through the warehouse. So there are various ways that the system can be set up. We can make it so it's a screen like this and you need to have a person come in and actually release the orders. Where we have an order release. You see all my orders here. This is showing me everything that's in a new status. And I want to release this one for picking. So I will go ahead and check mark that. And now it's going to release that one and the others will still sit there and wait. There is another option, and that is where when the orders come down, they're just automatically released as they come, and then this screen is not necessary. So that's up to configuration and how you want things to flow. So now if I refresh this screen, you'll see I have a different status for this particular order. And what I'm going to do is, it's sitting in ready status, so what I'm going to do is print it. And that's the process of going back to the reports and then printing the pick ticket. We can customize the pick ticket to look like whatever we need it to. But for this example, we just have a fairly straightforward one here. And I will go ahead, have that printed, come back over here and refresh. And now it's in a print status, meaning it has been printed. So as things happen in the system, you can see different status codes, and then other functions are allowed to happen. So let's go in and pick this order. I suppose first we might want to look at it. And we have an inquiry screen where you can take a look at the details. Here's an order for quantity of 10. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my handheld, back to my menu, and we'll do some picking. So I'll scan the barcode at the top of the pick ticket, which has the order number, and then it's going to shoot me through those bin locations, ask me to go into the various areas in the warehouse and go grab the stock that I need for this order. In this case, I only have one item, so it's telling me to go to the M010103, and I need quantity of 10. So I'll go over there, scan the barcode label that's on that bin, and then it asks me for the quantity. Now this screen has a certain level of configuration as well. In this situation, I'm just putting in the location and then the quantity. It is an option to also request that they scan the product ID, which would be a UPC code or maybe an I-205 or something like that, and that can be done as well. So here I'm going to put in 10. The order is fully picked, and I can scan a drop-off location. This is optional, but for our purposes, I've just got a dock location that I've set up, And also I have the ability to print a label here at the end of picking, and again, that's an optional thing. It's telling me I can't print it because I don't have a printer. That printer isn't set up. So that order is now sitting in a different status. Go back over here, refresh it. It's now in a picked status. You can see I've got a quantity that's been picked. And we'll kind of move our way back through the food chain here a little bit. If I look at my open order details, I can see that that one has been picked, and it's got a person's name assigned to it as to who did that picking. And if I look at the product inquiry and refresh that, I now have, instead of 110, I now have 105 in that location. All right. So now that order is in a picked status, and I want to actually get it shipped. So up to this point, we haven't told Acumatica anything about it. It is just still sitting in the warehouse waiting to have something happen. So here we'll go into our confirm ship process, scan that barcode again, and now it says that is confirmed as shipped. So a different person can be doing each of these steps, and maybe you've got one person doing picking or multiple people doing picking, and then other people doing the shipping after they've finished with the picking process. All right, so I've got that order. It's now in a shipped status, and the last step is to push that back into Acumatica and watch what happens with the shipments. So here we have our shipment screen. And I should be able to take a look, and here we go. I've got this. Shipment number 1, order number 4, quantity 10. It's on hold at the moment, but I can go ahead through this, and then I can just push this on through into the whole process of receiving, just like you would normally do. I'm not going to walk through all those steps. I'm assuming you have a pretty good idea on how that works. So what's going on in the warehouse is feeding back and forth throughout the day, and periodically somebody in accounting can come through and print the invoices or do whatever they need to do to get these processed through the Acumatica side of the house. Okay, so back over here in ADC, if I refresh, that order is now gone because this only shows the open orders. However, I can still go and look at it in my inquiry if I wanted to see exactly what happened. So the order will still be there for me to look at, and it shows it's in a ship status. Okay, so that's the entire circle of how things happen between the two systems. There are a few other things I'd like to just discuss real quickly. First of all, any of these screens that you're seeing where I've got these multiple items in a grid, we're searching for open orders and things like that, we have a customizable filterable grid situation. So here, if I wanted to take a look at all of my orders for a particular customer, big box, then I could start typing here in this, and it's going to narrow my list down by whatever characters I'm typing in. So that's one way you can do some filtering. You can also take a look at different things like in the dates. So if I wanted to look at certain dates greater than or equal to, let's just say March 1st, I don't have any. So I can then say, okay, less than or equal to March 1st, and there we go. So there's different possibilities here. You could also do things by different statuses, or if I only wanted to see orders that ended in 01, then there's some masking and filtering you can do that way. And I can always just clear everything here. So this is true on the order detail screen, order release. We're going into the product inquiry here where you've got multiple lines. All of those are filterable in the same way with these boxes that are up above.
Thank you for viewing the Savant ADC with Acumatica demonstration. For more information, contact Savant Software at 855-236-9083. You can email us at sales@savantwms.com or visit our website at www.savantwms.com.